hello, good to have you join us once again on Fertility Half Hour. This is where we discuss issues surrounding infertility and how best couples can actually have their dream children. And with me in the studio today is Dr. Nsika Nyoyoko. Dr. Nsika Nyoyoko, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, we are looking at Dr. Nsika Nyoyoko, is a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, and he's also a fertility consultant. And with me also is Dr. Okechukwu Okalu. Dr. Okalu, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
All right, Dr. Kalu is a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. He is also a medical director, Life Point Fertility Center. My name is Clement Barikui, and today we are looking at assisted reproduction. But before we continue, let's find out from Dr. Kalu, what is assisted reproduction?
Thank you, Clem. Assisted reproduction or assisted reproductive technology, they are synonyms, and just describe that process, any process that involves the handling of human gametes in a bid to achieve conception. So that's assisted reproduction. It's a contrast to the conventional treatment that is offered to infertile couple. Of course, we know that about 10% of couples are unable to achieve conception. But out of this 10% also, another 10%, out of the 10% of those 10%, even if you treated them by conventional means, they will not be able to achieve conception. These are the ones that require assisted reproduction.
So assisted reproduction, and the name implies, yes, you are assisting the couple.
Yeah, but no, it implies you are handling one or both gametes. Okay. When I say gametes, talk about either the eggs or the sperm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's look at the types of assisted reproduction. How many types do we have?
Yes. They are the most basic form of assisted reproduction is the one that is called intrauterine insemination, whereby we handle the sperm or spermatozoa of the man and capacitate it, choose, work on it on the lab, and after the process we were able to get very good sample of the spermatozoa and be able to inject into the woman's uterus. That is intrauterine insemination. That is the most basic form. The other one, which is very popular, is what they call IVF, in vitro fertilization, whereby we handle both the male gametes and the female gametes. And because of this program, we'll describe how it is done. Then again, as part of even the IVF process, there's also the one that is called intracytoplasmic sperm injection, ICSI. So for those that have serious and severe male factor infertility, we take this sperm, individual sperm, and inject spermatozoa and inject directly into the cytoplasm of the eggs to achieve fertilization. The aim of all we do with assisted reproduction is to achieve fertilization. There are also other ones that are not less popular, like what they call IVM and all that are also done. But the most popular is IVF and intracytoplasmic sperm injection. There are also surgical methods that are used to get the sperm from the man. These are all part of assisted reproduction. Any process that involves the handling of one or both gametes of an individual is assisted reproduction.
All right. Okay. So we have different types. We mentioned about 3, but today let's just focus on IVF, just that particular type. And that brings me to Dr. Nyoyoko. What is IVF?
Okay, IVF is an abbreviation for in vitro fertilization. IVF is one of the methods of assisted reproduction. In fact, it forms kind of like a bedrock for assisted reproduction generally. And the aim of IVF is a process whereby the male gamete and the male gamete being the sperm and the female gamete being the egg are handled outside the body. They are mixed together. The aim is to achieve fertilization and conception at the end of the day. So that is IVF. In a nutshell, that is IVF. And IVF can be done with the couple's gametes or with donors' gametes. It's very important we bring that up, because I know a lot of people have aversion for donor, but along the line, I'm sure they would come to terms with it by the time we are done with this discussion.
Okay, so before we go, let's look at that that particular, go details into that. Let's look at the indications for IVF. What are those indications?
Okay, yes, the indications for IVF could be male. Remember, we have male factor infertility and female factor infertility. So the indications could have to do with it, can be for the male, for male factor infertility, where we have men who do not have any sperm at all, azoospermia, or they have oligospermia. You know, we have men who have like varicocele, or the duct that carries the sperm is blocked. So for that reason, spermatozoa cannot come out, so they have to be harvested from the testis itself. Then for the female factor, blocked tube is one of the commonest reasons why we have to carry out IVF, because the tube is the route that the fertilized egg has to pass through to get to the uterus, and if there's a problem with the tube, that's also an indication for IVF. Then other indications would be after that is people who have like premature ovarian failure. That means their ovaries are no more able to produce eggs anymore. People have attained their menopause. People have had treatment with irradiation, chemotherapy that could have affected the ovaries itself. You know, people in whom we've tried other forms of assisted reproduction severally and have failed. Unexplained infertility, you know, it's also an indication for IVF. Women with endometriosis, especially moderate and severe endometriosis. Endometriosis is a condition that's another topic for another day. Good. So women who have those problems are you know, they are candidates for IVF.
Okay, all right. Dr. Kalu, last episode we were talking about infertility, and we talked about the issue of blockage of fallopian tube, and just like what as you mentioned, and remember, and then something just came to mind. If women, a woman has two fallopian tubes, right? Okay. So now, is it possible that a woman with one blocked fallopian tube can conceive? Before we talked about the success rate of.
Thank you. This is a very brilliant question. It is definitely possible for a woman to have one fallopian tube to conceive. However, the fallopian tube is a very important structure, as you have mentioned. Fertilization has to take place there. That means the sperm has to go through the fallopian tube to meet the egg at a particular point called the ampulla. It's the dilated portion of the fallopian tube. It's the longest portion, and that's where fertilization takes place. Then it now goes back into the uterus. What is moving it? It has millions of cilia, ciliary processes that moves the sperm to meet the egg, and not all due to following hormonal changes, moves the fertilized ovum now that has become an embryo back into the uterus. So those cilia, a woman can have one block, even both tubes can be patent anatomically, but physiologically those processes have been damaged. So even when they open one or two of them are open, the woman might not be able to conceive. However, nature has been kind. God has been kind to us. He gave us 2 ears, he gave us 2 eyes. A woman with one eye can still see. A woman with one ear can still hear. With one nostril you can still breathe. So with one fallopian tube you can conceive, but it cannot be as good as when you have two of them patent. That is the truth. Then again, by the time you have blockage of one fallopian tube and the other conditions, then it becomes far more difficult for conception to take place.
Okay, so let's look at, let's go back to, it was very important we bring that up so that in case we have any of our viewers having that a kind of issue, they can be at least have a hope, and above all, consult you. For further advice. So let's look at success rate of IVF. We know that we've heard stories of IVF. Many people will go in and then they will come back. Some will be celebrating, some will be crying. So let's look at the success rate. Is it? Let me just not say that. Is it everyone that goes for IVF come out and celebrating? So let's hear from you.
Yes. I want to state that the term success rate of IVF could be looked at as a misnomer. All right? It's something that can get people deceived.
Okay.
That's why counseling prior to IVF is very, very essential. All right? I mentioned some time ago that age is a major determinant with what happens to a woman, both with conventional treatment, natural conception, and also with IVF. So a woman that is in his 40s, late 30s, 40s, cannot be expected to have the same success rate as a woman like is in her 20s, early 20s. It's not possible. Usually women in their early 20s tend to do better, both with natural conception and also with IVF. So when you talk about success rate, there are many factors that determine success rate. factors that have to do with the patient themselves, and also factors that have to do with the center they went to. They went to. So, but on a general level, the success rate, that's why at times when people say 50, I tend to agree. On a general level, success rate can vary as low as 25% and can get up to 70-80%. But the average success rate have been recorded at about maybe 30 to 45% on the general level 5F. So people need to know about this. It that depends on what is happening to you.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So in that case, you will advise that people shouldn't be discouraged by the rate they hear.
Yes. And also, when you also talk about success rate, why they should not be discouraged. You see, there are other issues you have to look at.
Okay.
The success rate when women get pregnant with IVF and they lose the pregnancy because of other underlying factors. So a woman has got pregnant and lost the pregnancy, that's not success. So what we talk about more is the take-home baby rate. Okay. How many of them were able to deliver successfully? We really talk about, when you look at success rate critically, you should be talking about the take-home baby rate. Right? And this is quite different from the pregnancy rate. That's what they call chemical pregnancy. One is pregnant, they're all rejoicing in a short time, nothing is happening. So, people claim success rate of 80%, 90%. It's fraud, truly, most times. We tell the people the truth. It depends on the individual patient and also depends on what the center is doing. Okay. Yes, some centers are known to have very high success rate. And most times, the people that don't make too much noise are the ones that are doing very well. Because they're very busy. Yes. Okay. Most times. Yeah.
Okay, they are very busy. Okay, let's go back to Dr. Ngiyoku. Let's look at the issue of increasing, he's talking about the success rate. Let's look at the possibility, how to increase the chances of success, when you go for IVF.
Okay, the process of IVF starts from the patient selection. We're talking about, you have to know the age of the patient, you have to know the problems the patient had in the past, you have to know what other methods of assisted conception the patient has attempted, whether and also if the couple has a problem with spermatozoa, if it's a female factor, you need to know all those while understanding the patient. Then counseling comes next. We really need to counsel, just like Dr. Carlo has said, they need to know the success rate, so they don't keep their hopes unnecessarily high and usually low. Good. They just know that it's an average, like we said, it could be 50-50. 50-50, just being fair, in speaking. And then after that, the choice of the center also determines the success rate as well. And also one of the ways we can also improve success is that for some patients that have problems with their ovaries, people will say they have a poor ovarian reserve. Sometimes we actually advise them to use donor eggs. Donor eggs actually gives better success. We're talking of the donors are in their 20s. Good. So the quality of the egg of the donor is far better than someone that's in their 40s. So when the patient is in their 40s and you are advised to use the donor egg, the patient is bound to have better success. The environment in fact, like a friend of mine will always say that a clean place will give you an hygienic soup. Good. So the IVF center itself, looking at the IVF center, you can actually know if it's a calm, cool, clean IVF center with the right facilities and conscious staff with good attitude. Yeah. Those are things that inspire success in patients, because even the patients themselves would derive some form of trust. And then also the patient themselves, their own genetic makeup, their own readiness to follow instructions is very, very important. Okay. So there are a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to success.
Okay, so we talked about that, and then also more particularly, the two of you have talked emphasize the center you go, determine the success rate, but that will be after this break. So you are still watching Fertility Half Hour. Stay tuned. are still onto fertility half hour, and I have with me two consultants that are really dealing with the issue. Today we are looking at assisted reproduction, and remember that this program is being brought to you courtesy of Life Point Fertility Center, Uyo. So you can as well just take a walk if you are living within Uyo, take a walk to the center and make all the necessary inquiries, get all the information on whatever you want to know about infertility. So, Doctor, good to have you back. Now we are looking at in the course of the discussion, you've talked about center matters, and so let me ask this question: how can one know the right center? You know, today in Nigeria, particularly in Akwa Ibom State, we have a lot of IVF centers. We have a lot of them, and so how can a patient know the right center to choose?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer, in the sense that it's not all that glitters that is gold. That's truth. That is not gold. The point is to try to get the profile of the system you want to go to. Find out what they're doing. You know, the best referral, best advertisement is when people are getting pregnant. Most times when you get pregnant in a place, you refer other people to the place. Right? So those are our successes. You know, a good way to ask them, where did you go to? That's what most people do. Alright? That's a way. What is being done in center? Who are the personnel in center? What are their qualifications? What are they doing? Do they have the fear of God that no? A lot of people do wrong things. But generally, I have to tell you the truth. Nigeria is one of the leading places in Africa where IVF is done. A lot of people come from everywhere in the world to come to Nigeria to have IVF done. Yeah, maybe because of cost consideration, and also because most times abroad, they don't understand why there is so much high premium on childbirth in Africa, unlike there, where they can just, okay, I'm not getting married, they enjoy themselves and they're not having any baby. You know, for Africans, it's a different scenario. Most want to achieve that process of conception. Unfortunately, there's little or no government support to both the centers and also to individuals, unfortunately. Yeah. A major impediment to access to IVF is cost consideration. It affects a lot of things. Yeah, and so what my center what we try to do is to make it a patient-friendly setup. The amenities were done so that the women can have more opportunity of having an IVF process. Yes.
Quickly come in. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We will come to you so that we will look at the IVF, process, because I'm sure one cannot just walk in and say I want to do IVF and then straight you go and carry out IVF on the person. There must be steps to follow. So maybe we'll talk about that step. But first, Dr. Nyoyoko, in the course of answering my question, you talked about the issue of government not supporting IVF. Could it be that government is afraid of overpopulation?
Like he talked about, my boss here keeps talking about the paradox. Nigeria is part of the infertility belt, and we're also in the overpopulation belt, the fertility belt as well. So we have a high rate of fertility, high fertility rate. Our infertility rate is also high, and so government needs to. I think the problem we have with government is that they see the issue of fertility as not being important enough to support. In Western climes, their health insurance covers for infertility. In fact, some even cover for IVF up to 4 times. They have different laws. Some one IVF cycle or 2 IVF cycle, based on the age and all that. But our government has not come to terms with that. We're still trying as CFRH to even bring a legislation on board, to guide the practice of IVF, and that has not yet seen the light of the day. Still, because of the political will is not really there. So we actually would encourage the government that with this National Health Act that has come in, they should include infertility, because we are talking of couples. You cannot have an effective workforce when their not satisfied from the own front. You know, psychologically they are not happy. Someone, you can imagine someone having a child and they've been married for years. It's a recurrent problem. The quarrels can come from any day, any time, any angle, from extended family, from workplace. There's always stress, and that affects the level of productivity. And so it's important that the government sees that you know, all aspects of life matters. You know, fertility matters as well as reproductive health and other parts of health. It's still part of the healthcare system that we're talking about. Total health for the man, the woman, and the couple.
So you are the medical director of a Life Point Fertility Center. So does it? You talked about high cost initially.
Yeah.
So what should they expect from Life Points?
Well, truly, there is an unmet need for IVF. You know, when I was still in training, one of my part 1 exams, I had to look at the impediments. And the unmet need for IVF I saw was more than 90%. That means more than 90% of people that require IVF, you know, didn't have the means. Now it's getting better, but it's still very, very low. The unmet need for IVF, right? And so what we've tried to do is, unfortunately, the process itself is extremely expensive. Equipment are expensive, the media very expensive, the consumables very expensive. Everything has to do with the process very expensive. But we've evolved things we do, like we try to we have a good and efficient freezing program. So we do an IVF and we're offering them the freezing. So they don't know, that means what I mean, cryopreservation. You can freeze the embryo, you can freeze the eggs, you can freeze the sperm, so that you can use it almost immediately if you have a failure and try again. And most times we've done this and it has helped them. So it's a patient-friendly approach to the practice. We've also evolved other things we do here and there to help the women cope with the pressure of infertility and achieve their dream.
All right. Thank you so much. Achieve their dream. Dr. Onyoyoko, your final word.
Yes, my final word that IVF is not abnormal. We are enhancing nature.
Yeah.
We are not manufacturing a new garment or we're not manufacturing new garments, we're enhancing nature. So people should not go with the misconception that it's a test tube, baby is produced in a test tube and grows in a test tube. No, we're actually enhancing nature. It is what is already in place that we use in overcoming the obstacles that the couple has in getting pregnant. Overcome the obstacle for them and still give them their baby as they should have them. That's what I trust.
All right, thank you so much. You know, it reminds me, I know some people do not believe in IVF. You know, some say it's actually it's not a Christian thing, you know. So there are so many people that would say, well, they cannot do it because it's. But that we'll talk about that in our next episode. Because of time, we have to end here. So thank you so much for finding time to come on Fertility Hour today.
Thank you so much.
All right, and so that has been how it has been on this particular episode. We've been looking at assisted reproduction. By next episode, we have more interesting topic for you. I remain Clement Barikui, and do remember that you can also, if you have any question or issues, you can as well reach across to us through the number on your screen, or just advertly if you are living within Oyo, just visit Life Point Fertility Center and you will get all the necessary information you need. I remain Clement Barikui once again. Have a beautiful day.